Welcome to episode 13 of Swing State Update. I am your co-host, Austin Smith, with the great wave-making, apparently,
Tyler Boyer.
We're so happy.
As seen
on Fox News.
On Fox News.
On NBC.
I love all those lame Twitter accounts. No offense if I'm making fun of you. But it's like, as seen on Fox News and in Breitbart. And like, it was.
We have stuff to talk about today regarding that this week for episode 13 of Swing State Update. A political party failing to get signatures to get on the ballot in Arizona. We talk about Arizona extensively every single week. This is huge. We're also going to talk about the United States Air Force meddling in Republican Party politics, just the conservative movement politics, which is a huge deal. The backlash that has happened this week regarding that. And maybe we will get talking into about Ron DeSantis tanking a little bit and, never back down, and Jeff Rowe really affecting some of these presidential campaigns in a negative way. But let's start it off. Tyler, the Patriot Party has recently failed in its attempt to become an official party with ballot access in Arizona. Talk about that a little bit today, and let's really dissect what this means.
Yeah, so across the country, and this is really important, not just for what we're going to focus on with the Patriot Party, but we're going to focus on no labels, the No Labels Party, the Green Party, which we're hearing a lot about lately, and then other independent candidates. So how it works in almost every state, and again, most people don't even talk about this ever, but the reason why we have political parties for the most part really stems from the presidential.
The Electoral College.
So the Electoral College, think about this, and I really never thought about this until recently, which was because people complain all the time, and you hear the exact same thing over and over, right, Austin? Which is when you're out in the grassroots, you hear, oh man, the two-party system sucks. If only we had more parties, right? You hear this all the time, right?
Sadie? If only we had ranked choice voting. If only.
Sadie says this all the time, right? Sadie's constantly complaining. If Brooke and Sadie and Autumn would all be in a different party, each they would all have their own party. And so we hear this all the time as grassroots activists. We go out and people are like, I'm so sick and tired of the Republican Party. It sucks so bad. No. It's like, okay, well, if you think it sucks so bad, go start your own party. We say that all the time too, right? Mm-hmm. And then sometimes people do, right?
No, they try to.
And then they always fail, right? And so in Arizona right now, there's actually only now there's four. There's four parties, but there was historically only three that had year in and year out made the ballot. Mm-hmm. The Republican Party, the Democrat Party, and the Libertarian Party. And the Democrats have worked really, 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 really hard to make sure the Libertarian Party is always on the ballot for a lot of good reasons, right? Because we've seen in elections where the Libertarian Party has been a spoiler for Republicans. Mm-hmm. And then vice versa, the Green Party in some years has been a big spoiler for Democrats. And so a lot of people don't realize this is that the way that this operates does because, and it dawned on me just a few years ago, was we have political parties because the Electoral College. If if the Electoral College didn't exist, we probably would have many parties or no parties at all, a lot of independent type candidates.
And probably just one dominating party, just one that dominates the Electoral College.
Which would be bad, right?
Yeah.
If there was no Electoral College, which would turn you into Russia, basically, which is a popular vote. That's it. We don't have a popular vote for president, right?
Right.
And it's actually funny. It's so funny. CNN wrote some nasty article about me not that long ago, where I was responding to someone because someone talked about, the presidential election is decided by voters, and it's like, well, actually, it's not. There's not. That's not how you elect a president. And most people don't even realize this. Some people that we work with really closely don't even realize this. They think that when you're voting for president, you're voting for a president. Well, that's not who you're voting for. You're voting for
the
electors to go cast their ballot for a specific president. Mm-hmm. So in Arizona, I was an elector last time for the Republican side. You get appointed by the party, so it's a duly appointed position. I guess the party could hold elections for it if they wanted to. Mm-hmm. Historically, they don't, right? But it would be smart. I mean, I think it would actually be cool. I think we should hold elections for the elector position. I think it would be super
4 years
cool.
at the convention would be fun.
Why not?
It'd be
so cool. But like I was an elector. The Democrats had electors. The Libertarians had electors, right? Independent candidates, if they run, they have their own electors they pick. And if the election basically is a popular vote for those electors, and then the states decide how they want to send those electors. Some states could send half and half. Some states could just be like, you know what, we don't even want to have an election because it's up to the legislature to decide. We'll just send whoever we want to send.
Yeah.
Some states do this today, where they actually apportion them by congressional district.
Right.
So
Nebraska,
Maine, do this, and some other states historically have done this as well. And there's a lot of argument for different systems than the simple way of like a popular vote because of all the things that are attached. But this is the reason why we have two parties, because when you look at the electoral college map on 270towin.com, basically you've seen like a third party or fourth party end up spoiling the election. So what ends up happening is the parties work really, really hard to make sure there isn't more than one party from their side of the aisle that comes out to run. Otherwise, you end up with a Ross Perot situation like in the 90s, right? Or Teddy Roosevelt when he ran as Bull Moose, right? Those are historical representations of this. And so Americans have learned over time, if you run a third or fourth party, your guy probably isn't going to win for president, the one that you like the most. So out of that has come two big parties, right? So you have two big national parties because of the presidential cycle. And again, if you're listening to this may be the first time you're hearing this from anyone. I never learned that in a civics class. I never learned that in a government class growing up. But this is the reason why we have the two big parties. So, down ballot, running for different offices, you may have a better chance if you're in a smaller party running for a smaller office. Like a lot of libertarians get elected to state legislature in some places.
In New Hampshire, yeah.
In New Hampshire, some or they get elected
where they have a lot of
council.
offices, where they have a lot of places to run,
Totally.
Yeah.
And so this is where I think people get fed up because they don't realize like, oh, well, it's the Electoral College has really created this two-party system. Now, if I want to create a party, I can, but is my party going to end up becoming a dominant party? And the answer is probably not, unless you can overtake one of the big two. Right. Because of that reason, right? And that's what happened with the Whigs, right?
Right.
The Whig Party went away, and the Republican Party replaced it when slavery was a thing, and Democrats were fighting for slavery. Yeah. And the Whigs didn't take a hard enough stance against slavery, and so the new party, the Republican Party, overtook it pretty rapidly. And it became the anti-slavery party, essentially, the abolitionist party. And instead of going with the word abolitionist, they went with the term, which there were many parties that were called the abolitionist party, that were small parties that were fragmented, but they never overtook the Whig Party. And then ultimately the Republican Party overtook the Whig Party.
Yeah. To give you some perspective at home, those of you listening, so because this has to tie into like the Patriot Party, we're getting there. But in 1992, it's Bill Clinton or George H.W. Bush and Ross Perot. Bill Clinton got 44,000 votes. George W. Bush got 39 million votes. 44 million for Bill Clinton, 39 million for George H.W. Bush. Ross Perot, 19 million votes in the popular vote. So that 19 million, if it would have gone for George H.W. Bush, Bill Clinton would have never been president, because it's so hard to win for somebody to get an actual plurality. An actual 50+1 in a three-way election it's statistically impossible. So there's actually not like more democracy represented. It's less. It's less. The person who like actually didn't win a majority of the votes doesn't become the winner.
Yeah. Bill Clinton won with a plurality. Basically, he won the state of Arizona on the second go around.
Yeah. He won Georgia this first time.
He won Georgia the first
and Wisconsin.
Time. Oh, yeah, Bill Clinton did?
Yeah, he won. Bill Clinton won Wisconsin and Georgia the first time. The second time, he wins Arizona.
So this brings up a good point, a fascinating point, because a lot of people are going, "Oh my gosh, Arizona's a red state."
He wins all, but he lost Georgia in 1996.
Guys, everything changes with the Electoral College. The Electoral College is that is the king of the parties. The Electoral College is the daddy to all the parties.
The founders were so genius going and saying, no, you're not, at the time, because the biggest states were like New York and Georgia. They were like, no, you're not just going to hang out in New York and Georgia. You have to go to Tennessee. You have to go to the Carolinas. You have to go. That was the whole purpose of it. And that's why it was so beautiful that you had to go earn votes in Iowa.
You had to go everywhere.
It's awesome.
And that's why it was like so cool. Iowa, New Hampshire, they've had this long tradition of the early primaries just because these are
South Carolina.
These are not the most important states in the union.
Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, like the three of the smallest in the country. You got to go campaign there to become president.
And so, all right, so this is we're getting to the political party chaos that we've had in Arizona this week, and probably what's coming towards you in very fast fashion because, again, Arizona, tip of the spear, right? Wisconsin, tip of the spear. Georgia, tip of the spear. And this is a lot of these same things are happening in Georgia as well. So you've probably heard about a group called No Labels.
Yep.
Have you heard about it?
They are funded vastly, mostly by Andrew Yang. He's a big bankroller of them.
Yeah, so Yang Gang came out of the Democrat process last time, and they went, This sucks. This sucks. This is terrible.
What, super delegates?
Yeah, super delegates really screwed me. And again, a lot of the Bernie guys, really the Bernie bros, were really angry about the super delegate situation.
In Nevada. Yeah.
And the Democrats made some reforms with that. And we're going to get way, way, way deeply into that this year, guys, by the way, when we talk about the delegates for RNC, the delegates for DNC, the super delegates on the DNC side, how our side is screwed up too in so many different ways. We'll talk about that. But that's not the purpose of what we're talking about here. But Yang Gang came out of that. They go, the Democrat Party is unsavable. It's unsalvageable. We're going to create our own party. I think they got some Bloomberg money. I think they got a bunch of...
They have Bloomberg money, and they've had people like Charlie Crist come out in favor of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
He went from Republican to Democrat, and he was like, I hate them both. And so he...
Cookie Crisp came out. And so they have been working at building a party, which I think in their mind is a up-the-middle alternative...
To the left, right.
To the left.
Mm-hmm. To the far left.
And so they actually got the petition signatures filed in Arizona to become the fourth recognized party. So now in Arizona, you have the Arizona Republican Party, the Democrat Party, which is the leftist party, the radical leftist commies in our state. Then you have the Libertarian Party, which has operated forever, but it's been really small and really struggled.
Really haven't been effective.
Yeah, has really struggled in recent years. They kind of had their peak during the Ron Paul era, and that was about 12 years ago, 14 years ago. And now they've settled down quite a bit, and there's a lot of integration with the Republican Party.
I will say about the Libertarian Party in Arizona, I've had conversations with some of their leadership. We get along because at the heart of our party is very liberty-minded. They're just not a big fan of some Republicans, and I get that, but they have been very good to other Republicans.
There's two sides to the Libertarian Party, but a lot of them have integrated into the Republican Party, and especially under Trump. There's kind of like the pro-Trump Libertarians, and that now they're in the party. Yeah. And then there's the ones that hate Trump, who are really more of the social conservative or social liberals and things like that. But anyways, long story short, that has become the fourth party. Well, what does it take to have a party? So No Labels was able to file over 34,000. I think the total amount of signatures.
The threshold is 34,000.
34,000 signatures. They actually ended up filing 56,000.
Way over the threshold.
So they got that. So how it works in Arizona, and again, it's a little bit different in every state, but for the most part, it's this way. You have to get a certain number of designated signatures to actually file a party. So if you wanted to create a new party, if we wanted to create the Austin Smith Party, one of my friends is a big Star Wars fan. He wishes there was a Jedi Party. Right. If you wanted to have a Barbie Party, right? Like you could create that. Like so, Brooke could have a Barbie Party if she wanted to, and this is what it would take. She would just have to go file the Barbie.
Can you get 34,000 signatures by? Actually, it's too late now. We can't start any more parties.
No, all Brooke has to do is this. All Brooke has to do for, What party do you think you would file, Brooke? What would the name of your party be?
The Justin Bieber Party?
No. Let me think. Probably like Batman.
Okay.
The Batman Party? Oh, wow.
Okay.
So if you wanted to file the Batman Party in Arizona, you could do it. It would be 34,127 signatures. They have to be valid, which means they have to be residents of Arizona. They have to sign it. They have to still live in Arizona when they're verified. Right. And then once that's done, then it goes. But you submit those signatures to the Secretary of State's office, and then you say, all right, I'm good. Now count them. Once you say now count them, then you're done. Then they give you a date to review. You have to give them enough time to review. I'm sure there's a cutoff date. I don't know when
I don't know the exact
I don't know when the
cutoff.
exact cutoff date is, but it's probably significantly before you have to file candidate petition signatures.
Candidate petition signatures are like in March, April.
So my guess would
before
be
then.
is probably by the end of
It has to be this month.
It said will be posted early in 2023. So they haven't posted it yet, or they have, and that nobody knows when that is. But anyways, long story short, probably by the end of the year is when they're due. And if you get them in, then you have a new party. So No Labels was successful at that. They filed that earlier this year. Done. So now we have 4 parties in Arizona. 2 parties are outstanding in Arizona that wanted to file. 1, Green Party.
Mm-hmm.
They're working on it. Allegedly, the Green Party thinks they have enough signatures to get on the ballot. The Democrats are not happy about that.
So they're not pro-democracy. Wow.
No, the Democrat Party is not radical enough for them. And then the Patriot Party. So the Patriot Party was made up. So a guy that ran for U.S. Senate, his
2020.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Do you remember him?
Demand Daniel.
Yep. So
Daniel. I can't think of his last name.
Daniel McCarthy.
Daniel McCarthy.
Yep. So
Yeah.
Daniel.
Daniel.
Yeah. So this is just kind of catching everybody up, and we're leaving the editorialization of all this out because we don't have enough time for it on this podcast. But Demand Daniel McCarthy was running against McSally. And McSally sucked. So
Awful.
a lot of people supported Daniel in the grassroots, but he had a really negative experience while he was running. Same thing. Very similar to the Yang Gang stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a little bit different approach, but then they immediately started going and building this Patriot Party concept. Well, they started collecting the signatures. Like he ran 4 years ago, right?
2020, yeah.
Yeah. So he started running 4 years ago. So they started collecting the signatures a long time ago. And a lot of people got really ticked off at him. And I think he lost a lot of ground within the Republican Party because he started doing this.
Yeah.
So a lot of people started going wait, the Republican Party is getting better. It's getting more conservative. Why would you abandon that and go start a different party? And there's some kind of little, some weird, interesting people that were involved with the Patriot Party scheme stuff.
Yeah.
But long story short, they started collecting these signatures. And these signatures allegedly are from almost 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago. Well, apparently this is again, this is the T. The law is kind of written a little bit weird. You got to fix this.
Mm-hmm.
Help fix this. Is that it doesn't say specifically the time frames in the law
For filing for a new party.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Adrian Fontes, the Democrat Secretary of State, who's second in line to the governorship, but he's a radical Marxist psychopath.
He's a scumbag.
Total scumbag. There's just a
He's
radical
a scumbag.
I mean, we're talking about guys. Austin's a 5th generation Arizonan. I'm a 7/8th generation Arizonan. I mean, you got guys like Adrian who are wanting to take us down a radical Marxist pathway here. He's your Secretary of State. He's the second in line to be the governor.
He's hashtag not my Secretary of State.
He's hashtag. He plays off. He served in the military. He plays off of that, but he's absolutely not representative of anything, and he lies to people constantly. He was trying in the background to allow those signatures that were more than 2 years old to go through, so that they would count the Patriot Party as a party. And so he was hoping that nobody would pay attention to any of this stuff.
Right.
And they would sneak it through, and the Patriot Party would get filed. Why?
To split votes away from Republicans.
Yeah, because even if it's 5,000 votes.
And you want to know how I know Adrian Fontes is such a fraud, such a scumbag? Is because he was helping lead the legal fight against No Labels Party to keep them off the ballot in Arizona. He's such a scumbag. He's not this whole fair thing.
This is the kicker.
Such a liar.
This is the kicker. Well, Austin's saying the entire Democrat Party was so pissed when the No Labels Party got filed. Why? They ran every poll, and every poll shows that No Labels candidates take away from Democrats more than they take away from Republicans.
And I don't think other people understand this. There's 2 Democrats that I know in the legislature that have been to No Labels Party events. Alma Hernandez down in Tucson, Southern Arizona, and Keith Seaman, the other Democrat in Pinal County who won a fluke election in a Republican area. Woo! They have been caught at Democrat events. They have been caught. And I'm like, ooh, that's great.
That's great.
I think Alma is probably hated by most of her Democratic
Yeah.
caucus because she's not as crazy as they are. And
She's
they
like
hate
pro-Israel.
that. She's very pro-Israel. And
She liked the nasty tweet about me a
but
couple weeks ago.
She helped try to lead the override against Hobbs on the tamale bill this year. But there have been Democrats showing up at those events, and they don't. I'm sure their counterparts aren't too appreciative.
They
of
don't
that.
appreciate that. So, and there may be a guy down south who they've ejected from the party down there in the Democrat Party too. A guy I went to college with who was in the state legislature who might run as no labels. So
Yeah, that would be wild.
against Democrats, which we totally support. That's a great thing. So, anyways, long story short, so now you've got these four parties. The Patriot Party this week gets slapped down. So the state party chair, Jeff DeWitt, good friend of the program, good dude, has worked with a bunch of volunteers.
A lot of grassroots activists.
Give a lot of credit to the grassroots activists that helped support that. I think Marissa Hamilton helped with some
Representative Colladin was a part of it as well.
Totally.
Yeah.
They were down there, and they had about 50 volunteers. They had to go through all 37,000 of the Patriot Party signatures, and they verified them. They started realizing this is like, wow, a lot of these are old, like really old signatures. And so Jeff hopped to with their attorney and sent over to Adrian Fontes, and they started exposing. They'd released a press release that put some spotlight on Adrian Fontes, and they said, look, we're going to sue you. These are old signatures. So like, you want to waste everybody's time? Like, great, but like, we're going to win, and you're going to look like a freaking idiot. Adrian Fontes went, okay, guys, you got me. And then he backtracked off of everything, and then they finally denied the certification, officially saying that there was 31,000 acceptable signatures, but we know that there was probably significantly less than that when you actually take in the dates. So good news this week is that the Patriot Party is not on the ballot. And again, I totally understand people who are frustrated with the Republican Party. Totally get it. Totally understand it. But I'm going to tell you what, if there's a state that has a more conservative Republican Party than there is across the country, this is the place. Yeah. And again, and
that didn't happen overnight. People should understand that did not happen overnight. John McCain ran the Republican Party in Arizona for decades.
Well, and look, I want to point to something here before we talk about the Green Party for a second, then we move on. But, think back to Teddy Roosevelt. Teddy Roosevelt launched the Bull Moose Party because he was pissed at the Republican Party. And he had a lot of good complaints, a lot of not so great complaints, whatever. It was more moderate faction kind of was running the party, and there were things, and it's a different era. And so, there's elements of Teddy Roosevelt that I love, and there's elements of Teddy Roosevelt that I think are really stupid. I personally think Teddy Roosevelt's great because without Teddy Roosevelt, we wouldn't have Arizona.
That's true.
Because he
helped kick off statehood.
We wouldn't have the Salt River Project in its capacity today, and we wouldn't have the dam that allowed for life
or the Grand Canyon.
And everything else. So, but look, the point is like he was trying to create something that was going to overturn the entire Republican Party, right? He was trying to take over the Republican Party, and ultimately that failed. Why? Because people go, unless you can overtake the whole party, right, completely and eliminate it, eradicate it, then you're never going to get there, because the national element of the Electoral College is you've only got two parties. Because what's going to happen? People are going to retreat back to that other party, right? Because what happened was Teddy Roosevelt, similar, and this is the same thing that happened with the Republican Party in the 90s, right? And a lot of people thought that Ross Perot was the future of the conservative movement.
Right.
They thought Ross Perot was going to be president and that he was going to lead a new party to replace the Bush era
neocons.
Neocons. And what happened? Everyone retreated back to the Republican Party, recognizing that Teddy Roosevelt and Ross Perot both split the vote, and that there was a bigger egg there to retreat back to, an island, if you will, to retreat back to in the Republican Party that they more so agreed with than those two figures, because they're really figures, right? And this is the same thing that would happen with Trump. If Trump created his own party, he would split the vote, because the Republican Party would still run some hack, right? And this was a question, and it would be personality driven, right? And then everyone would go back to the Republican Party. Now, the only way that you can overtake a party, and I hate giving people this explicit instruction here, but The only way that you can overtake the Republican Party, and I realize this being on the Republican Party, is if you actually have a message and leadership that people trust, a candidate that's rock solid for president. So you need all these things, right? So you need a great name, some great financing to start it, right? Leadership that would launch into it. So if we had a new party to overtake the Republican Party, like probably the Patriot Party in Arizona is not going to do it, not going to cut it with the guys that are running it. You need people to abandon the current Republican Party and know what they're doing and put together the bylaws and do the things that you need to do to help run a convention and all that stuff, right? So you need that. And then lastly, you need a really strong presidential candidate. And if you have all those things, this is where the Libertarian Party got really close, right? But they never were going to overtake because they were just a small fragment of the Republicans. Now, if you can appeal to more Republicans, if you can be more of a populist, right? This is like the world that we live in. This is actually where it's really scary for the legacy Republican Party, is because the populists are really now looking like it's the majority of the Republican Party, right? So populism is now more popular within the Republican Party than the establishment status quo Republican Party, the Chamber of Commerce Republican Party. So,
I would agree. I totally would agree.
You think so?
I totally would agree, because if that were if for the longest time, Arizona is a perfect example. And to give people like just some a little bit more background about this is, Daniel McCarthy and those folks that started the Patriot Party, they didn't have a great experience with the Republican Party. They just so many people do. Like so many people do. I mean,
like me every day.
Being an elected official, I'm an elected Republican in the state of Arizona in the House of Representatives.
Yeah.
And if we don't do our job and fulfill our promises and give Republican voters, 3s and 4s, actually something to vote for, actually something to go out there and campaign for, then you're going to get challenged, like your relevancy. You're going to get challenged, like why you're even important. And you get people like Rusty Bowers, who was the Speaker of the House of Representatives, who didn't foster any good relationships with these people, who just wanted to help fix elections. And the establishment is to blame for a lot of the Patriot Party stuff. Because they just weren't. They didn't want to work with conservatives. They never do. They want to work with Democrats more than they do Republicans, and that's 100% correct. Let's go to the image one, the AZ GOP press release from Chairman DeWitt. If we can pull it up here.
Yeah, big win from Chairman DeWitt and the AZ GOP.
Yeah, you can see there. It's kind of hard to read, but it's a big deal for the Arizona Republican Party. Tyler's our national committee man. Jeff DeWitt's our state party chair, who was just elected this year. It's a pretty big deal. A lot of people think that just running the party, especially in these swing states, it's just like, the day-to-day operations and raising money to get candidates elected. It's like, well, no, there's other battles that end up happening, challenging signatures, challenging the legality of election legislation, challenging, the status quo of getting money into the state. There's a lot that goes on when you're state party chair, and this was a big hat tip to the grassroots first and foremost, and second to Chairman Jeff DeWitt for being aggressive in this situation here and to not let a loser like Adrian Fontes have a third party spoiler to ruin Republican elections. And I believe this was they wanted to do this. They wanted the Patriot Party on the ballot, obviously to take Republican votes away from down ballot races for the Arizona legislature. That's 100% why Adrian Fontes would have been okay with it, because they probably wouldn't put up a candidate for Senate. They probably wouldn't have been able to put up one for president. It would have been all down ballot for the House of Representatives and the state Senate. So
let's talk about votes that will be taken away. So right now, just like the Patriot Party was operating, the Green Party is trying to collect their signatures, but probably being slightly smarter about it. The Patriot Party only had enough money in the bank to do this once, and so they were trying to sneak through. So I bet they brokered some kind of deal. I think the deal that they tried to broker with Adrian Fontes was like, look, we have all these old signatures, but just let them through because it's going to help you guys, and it'll help us, and, F the Republican Party. The Green Party hates the Democrat Party, similarly to how the Patriot Party guys hate the Republican Party. And they are probably going about it a little bit smarter, which is they're trying to get the signatures necessary to make sure that they get on the ballot as an official party. Now, if they don't do this, if they're not successful, then they're not going to be able to have ballot access.
Right.
That's a big deal. Now, a candidate can run as an independent. You still have to go collect the signatures for that.
Right.
But you can't run as so like Kennedy, like RFK Jr. He just has to collect all the signatures in order to have ballot access. But it becomes much easier if you have a verified political party for your state, especially here in Arizona. So we'll see if the Green Party is successful and they can make this happen. That's going to be a huge blow to the Democrats.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if the same way that skeezy Adrian Fontes was trying to sneak in the Patriot Party to screw Republicans, if he's going to try to be sneaky and screw the Green Party people.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't put that over him. And now remember Jill Stein, 2016. Yeah. So if you pull the numbers from 2016, Jill Stein took a decent chunk of votes away from Hillary Clinton. Mm-hmm. Because remember, Jill was out there, and the Libertarian candidate, I think
Gary Johnson.
I think it was Gary Johnson right against Trump.
Gary Johnson, 2016.
Was it Gary Johnson or was it what's her face?
It's Gary Johnson. The other one you're thinking of is this last time around.
That was 2020.
Yeah, 2016 was Gary.
I'm
Johnson.
sorry, I don't have it right in front of me.
What
right
is
now.
Aleppo? That was Gary Johnson.
But they took a significant chunk of votes away because Jill Stein looked a lot more competent than Hillary on a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. A lot of people trusted her more. She's a pretty trusted name. And guess who's going to be their candidate again? The Green Party candidate.
Jill Stein.
Yeah, it's most likely going to be Jill Stein. Jill Stein said she's announcing. She announced. So I think it's kind of up to see if she can get on the ballot in enough of these places.
Right.
But that's a huge blow because the Democrats will potentially be having to deal with RFK Jr.
Yeah.
Think about this, guys. RFK Jr., Jill Stein, who screwed them in 2016, and partially how Trump won. And then on top of that, too, no labels.
Right.
So we might, and then also if we get the Batman Party in here. So like that's a significant chunk of votes taken away. So I hope you learned a little bit. You're caught up today a little bit on this whole deal. The Patriot Party will not be on the ballot. They will not have a candidate. It's TBD if the Green Party will. The Green Party will become the fifth identified party in the state. And again, this isn't just for that, but then also you have the U.S. Senate race,
right,
all the way down that the Green Party could impact.
Yeah. I can't remember if this is the law still in Arizona or if they changed it. But also to continue to have ballot access, you have to have a candidate earn so many amount of votes.
That's correct.
Every time.
That's correct.
So if in 2026 when we have a governor's race again, the Green Party would have to put up a governor's candidate and get X amount, or a Senate candidate to put up an X amount of votes, right? I think that's how the law still operates.
Yeah, so that's how I believe the Green Party fell off. So the Green Party was filed, obviously, in 2016. Jill Stein was on the ballot. They fell off because they didn't run enough candidates that got enough votes.
Yeah. So you have to constantly be running candidates to keep ballot access. You can't just be for we're only going to run for corporation commissioner for the legislature.
You can't just file the party and then not do anything. So it's actually part of the reason why it's scary, right? Because if someone files a party, that means they're going to have a candidate. Yeah. Because they have to have enough enough votes to do it. It's not very many. It's a pretty low threshold. I don't have it in front of me right now, but it's in the tens of thousands, I think. You ultimately have to have. But it's not that many when you think if millions of people vote during a presidential, you're probably going to end up getting those because people are just going to protest vote and they're going to vote for your party. But this is the reason why naming your party matters so much. When I was going back to the things, right? If you have a weird name for your party, people aren't going to vote for it. Yeah. Green Party, never going to get anywhere. Libertarian Party, not going to get anywhere.
But no labels, maybe.
But if you had a conservative party, that would F the Republican Party up pretty bad.
Big time. Because there's a lot of people who are, not declared party in Arizona,
or even an
but
America First Party.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are conservative.
You see what I'm saying?
Arizona.
So it's brand matters, right? So
100%.
But this is the reason why the Green Party fell off is they didn't run enough candidates, so they didn't get enough votes, so they fell off the map. So now you know this, right? Libertarians always run candidates, right? Mm-hmm. Now you know why they always run. People are always like, why did the Libertarians run?
Senate. They ran a Senate candidate last time,
right? And remember, the guy was like
Victor Mark something.
He's like, I like Blake, and then he dropped out and he endorsed Blake, right? Mm-hmm.
But he still got like 21,000 votes.
Well, that's their secret though, because if they don't get those votes,
yeah.
then they don't keep their ballot access.
Yeah.
So your party is always going to be like, your crappy little party is always going to be like, yeah, we're just going to run schmuck to run because we have to try to keep ballot access. Because we're not going to like go try to refile those 34,000 signatures all over again. Make sense? Everyone in the audience, you got it?
Yeah.
Behind the booth, producer Sadie, you got it?
Yes.
So that is how you maintain ballot access. So Batman Party, if it comes, Brooke has to run. She doesn't have a choice but to run. But think about it. A Batman Party even would probably get a lot of votes.
Yeah.
There's enough people who like Batman, right?
That is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but don't get any good ideas, right? Like unless it's good. But this is like if a political party was really smart, you would get the signatures for all these things that like Democrats like, right? Like, right?
Yeah.
Like the abortion party, the party, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the, cut off kids, genitalia party. Like think about it. Like if you created all those parties, you would probably split the vote if you got someone to run. All it takes is the 34,000 signatures and to run someone every time.
So
that's the Green Party. That's the Green Party effect, right? Like that's what it is.
So as we close out, Tyler, let's go into our next topic here. Number 2. Can you guys play clip 1 for us?
Oh wait, we didn't pull up the total number. Do we ever pull up the graphic?
Oh, you actually pull up the graphic first.
Let's pull this up, the screenshot of the different parties. I don't think we pulled that up while we were talking about it, but we'll do it just for here. So this is the dates and the parties. So as like kind of the end cap here, you've got the 4 parties now. So you have the Republican and Democrat that aren't on here that we already know about. No labels, completed their stuff. This was back in February of this year. They got certified on March 7th, 2023. Patriot Party, failed. They're out. Green Party, TBD, right?
Yeah.
We need a lot more left-leaning parties that we need to get filed on there. So there you go.
Well, I mean, between all of the activity at ASU, I'm sure the Communist Party of Arizona State University can get on the ballot.
We need a commie party here. Like let's split the votes for the Dems. That'd take out 30% of their vote if there's a Communist Party of Arizona
from Arizona State.
So. Cool.
Let's play clip 1 for me.
An education party?
Yeah, the education party.
The educators party?
The
Red for Ed?
Party.
A Red for Ed party?
Save Our Schools party would be good.
Yeah, we should
file one.
see that. I mean, if they were serious
Arizona
about
Republic, they're going to get their new article here.
If they were serious,
Turning Point Action, starting up new parties to cause chaos.
I mean, if they were serious about education, they would have an education party.
I would encourage those leaders at the Save Our Schools organization to start your own party because the Democrats obviously can't deliver for you guys.
Yeah, you should say that from the floor.
I will.
You should look up at them on the in the balcony.
Yeah,
next
they
time
start a new party. The Democrats can't deliver for you.
Why don't you guys have
They've been fighting for teacher pay raises for decades.
They're fighting against teacher pay raises.
Yeah, they can't even deliver.
Now they're fighting against Matt Gress and the teacher pay raises. It's like, why don't you guys have your own Red for Ed party?
Mm-hmm.
I want to see it.
The Democrats can't deliver.
I would love to have a Red for Ed.
These are Dinos, Democrats in name only.
Okay.
All right, let's go to our second topic. Play clip 1 here. Charlie talking about some breaking news that happened just today. Or this week.
Listen, leaders, please exercise caution downtown. Please pass along to your team. We got word of an event at Fairgrounds downtown. Its guest speaker is from an alt-right organization called Turning Point Action. Please advise your folks if they are going. This is the U.S. military that is focusing their time on when people that are off duty, whether or not they want to go to a political rally. This is your military that was once led by General Mark Milley, who says he wants to understand white rage. Lloyd Austin, who has never won a war. This is your military that is basically saying to members of the greatest fighting force ever, don't show up to a political Turning Point Action rally. And they wonder why recruitment is down 30%.
What the heck is going on, Tyler?
What happened?
What happened? What happened? What is going on?
So first off, This is in North Dakota. This is in Minot, North Dakota.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to Minot?
No.
Why not Minot?
I've been to Grand Forks.
I honestly, I don't know anything about the plains at all. But I mean, for the most part, my family is, been in the desert forever.
We're desert dwellers.
We're desert rats. So,
yeah, desert dwellers.
So I get invited up. So this is me. I'm speaking at this event. And I get invited. It's a wonderful political action committee. It's called the Dakota Patriot PAC. If you have a chance, go to Dakota Patriot PAC. I believe it's .com. I should have pulled this up before we got in there. It's Dakota Patriot PAC. If you Google it, Dakota Patriot PAC. I'll pull this up here in just a second. Oh, DakotaPatriotRally.com. You can go to. They hold an event. They hold a patriotic event every.
But they are a PAC though too.
They're a PAC. Yeah. It's a PAC. So, and a political action committee is totally, everyone knows every donor that gives to it. These guys are fighting the establishment. So, Burgum, that's from that state, that's running for president right now, who's is getting.
Still running, apparently.
I think you'd get more votes than Burgum.
He's still running, but.
To be honest, I think you'd get more votes than Burgum. I think any of us in this room would probably get more votes than Burgum, which is crazy because he's the governor of a state. But he's a billionaire. Super establishment billionaire that's from the Dakotas. We have a lot of those in the Midwest, a lot of establishment rich guys who run for office. And he tries to take out all the conservatives in the state legislature all the time.
Yeah. I have a couple friends that serve in the Cole Christensen and a couple of those guys that are hardcore conservative, and they always have a target on their back from Doug Burgum.
We got a lot of good people that are up in the Dakotas. And so North Dakota and South Dakota, there's a lot between them, but this is North Dakota we're talking about. So North Dakota, they have this PAC that helps defend conservatives. They're great. So I didn't realize how big of an event it truly was going to be, but I got invited to be the keynote. Yeah. And that doesn't happen very often because I'm not seeking it out, and we're just doing our thing. But we're talking about the RNC. We're talking about conservatism. We're talking about what it takes to win. How terrifying it is of what's happening right now, stuff that we talk about on this podcast every week, and with our staff every week that are out in the field. And it's mostly they're doing gun raffles, they're doing all the normal stuff, right? Eating barbecue.
Very grassroots, right? Mm-hmm. All
good, salt of the earth, great people, all of them, wonderful. And special thank you to Lori Hins,
National Committee
who's
woman.
the National Committee woman from North Dakota. She's on. If you don't listen to her show or watch her show, she's on TV there across the Dakotas, and I think beyond that, through their network, through the Beck Network. She invited me. It was a great time. It was fun, great, whatever. Normal, very normal event. 500 probably plus people there. Anyways, long story short, we had a great time. Get out, and I started getting blown up by everybody. They're like, "Did you see this message?" And I don't know where this guy posted this thing, but I guess it was leadership from the Minot Airforce Base that's there, which again, very conservative. You would assume that 90% of these people are probably conservative there at the Air Force Base. This guy posts "Hey, you better not show up to the alt-right rally that's going on.
Could ruin your career.
Could ruin your career."
Crazy. So military members.
People started texting me this all over the place. And I sent it to Charlie. And I'm like, dude, I think this is going to turn into a story.
Yeah.
And he's like, it was a small thing, like in the Dakota. So
I'll tell you, Abe Hamadeh sent it to me. Abe Hamadeh texted it to me, and I'm like, "What's going on?" I totally forgot that you were going to North Dakota.
I didn't tell anybody.
I
just went up.
You had mentioned, Tyler did mention to me that he was traveling to North Dakota for something, and then I don't know. 3 days later, I get a text, the screenshot of the image from Abe Hamadeh. He was like, "Hey, just a heads up," and I'm like, "What the heck is this?" I'm like, and I totally forgot you were there. I sent it to Tyler, and he was like, "Oh yeah, that's me." I'm like, "Oh, great."
I mean, I did rile them up. I mean, we went after the establishment really hard. But
great, they deserve it.
We went after the establishment hard.
Because they're close to North Dakota. They're close to Canada.
But it was pretty low key, right? So anyway, so this whole thing comes out, and I don't know if we want to throw up the image of something.
Let's throw up. Can you guys throw up clip 2, Benny Johnson and Corey Miller, really quick?
And we'll talk about the
breaking story from just hours ago. A military base in North Dakota, the commanders are on the record saying you're not allowed to go to a Turning Point Action event. You've sounded off on this immediately. Can you talk me through what's going on here?
Yeah, basically the bottom line that they're trying to do is they're trying to limit their ability to go into a Patriot rally, to go listen to very motivated people. We know what Charlie Kirk and Tyler Bowen's been doing. They've been continuing to try and, sound the alarm, bring back what it is to be a constitutional, principled conservative, but also just what it is to be an American, what it is to be a patriot. So I talked to our subcommittee chairman, Jim Banks, of the military personnel. We are working on it right now to request a subpoena and a military inquiry into what was actually being done. And we will pull them before our committee and let them testify and answer, because we need real accountability. We need to be protecting our men and women in uniform.
So Tyler, you have just started a congressional committee. Did you know that? You got people going to Congress now. There's an entire committee.
There was like a dozen. There's a dozen congressmen that texted me or tweeted about it. No. So I wake up.
So are you going to go speak before the committee?
No. So Autumn back there knows my phone isn't currently working because I don't know, something dropped off with my phone. So I'm getting it fixed right now, and so it was like the service wasn't working on it. Totally just a technical thing. But then I went to the dentist this morning. And so I'm at the dentist from like 8 o'clock and I start getting blown up.
Yeah.
Right? And I didn't even look at my phone, and it was like,
I hadn't been on X really this morning, and then I jumped onto it, and my entire feed was members of Congress. Tyler Boyer.
I had 10 members of Congress, Turning Point Action, 10 members of Congress. We had U.S. senators. So now we have at least 2 U.S. senators.
J.D. Vance is one of them.
J.D. Vance and the senator from North Dakota, who's on
some kind of military committee.
He's on the committee.
Yeah.
So the Armed Services Committee.
Yeah, that's the committee.
Calling for a complete and total investigation of this and saying that it's like complete farce. So this is like a real deal. Charlie came out today, was talking about all morning, as you saw in the clip, about going down. So they may have, I'm not going to go down there, but Charlie can go down there, represent us, and
Andy Biggs or Anna Paulina should Sherpa you around the Capitol.
But here's the deal. This is why is this a big deal? It's a big deal because this is what we're seeing. We're seeing complete targeting of conservative organizations. You guys remember in the Obama administration when Lois Lerner was attacking
Tea Party groups,
mm-hmm. right?
Challenging their 501c3 status.
Trying to remove their C3 status. And by the way, the guy that has like the biggest, pardon my take on this, hard on for this is Senator Whitehouse from Rhode Island. It's it's like his calling in life is to be Lois Lerner with like slightly bigger boobs. So that's like his whole thing. Like that's all he's doing. They are so far past that, guys. Like now where they're at, they want to prevent Austin and me and all of these people that work for Turning Point Action are wonderful people. I'm not going to name them by name because we're not going to make this easy for them that listen to this podcast, which we know all the bad guys listen to this podcast. Mm-hmm. But we have hundreds. We now have thousands of activists. So guess what? It's the next guy up mentality. This is why we've constructed everything that we've constructed, because they're going to try to come after. We know this. They're going to try to come after Charlie. They're going to try to come after me. They're going to try to come after Austin. They're going to try to come after. But guess what? I go. There's another guy pops up. Mm-hmm. Sadie goes.
We're not going anywhere.
Someone else pops up. We're not going anywhere. But the bigger deal about this is that they're trying now to thwart organizations as a whole.
Effective organizations
that are doing the work that they know can beat them.
Yeah.
Right? That's the story. The story is that Turning Point Action is constructing one of the largest GOTV operations in the country. Right? This is not secret. This is talked about all over.
Every day. We talk about this every
day. This is debated. This is argued. This is reported on. One of the only organizations that's operating a giant boots on the ground GOTV operation, get out the vote operation, voter registration, precinct recruitment, turnout, ballot chasing now, right? The only ones doing this, they're now trying to prevent from doing that.
Yeah. 100%.
Are we surprised?
No, it's because it's effective. And that leads us into a great transition. TPAction.com/get involved. We need you to be involved with Turning Point Action because the Biden administration is watching. They know that Turning Point Action is being successful. TPAction.com/get involved. TPAction.com/precinct. You've got to be a precinct leader, Tyler, because if you're not actually in the Republican Party. You're not actually having some say in what's going on. Those folks at the Patriot Party, the vast majority of them, I don't even think were precinct committeemen.
We need you for get out the vote operations, but this is also for poll watching, poll working. So when the time comes,
if you're big on election integrity, you need to be precinct.
Knowing your neighborhood, getting involved, helping us ballot chase, which we'll get into in just a second. Being a precinct leader is absolutely necessary for you to be involved. I sit with people all the time. I see people on Twitter all the time.
Yeah.
And they complain about the Republican Party.
Yep.
And I go, "Are you a precinct committeeman?"
No.
And I would no. Okay, well, get off Twitter,
yeah.
get off X, right, and actually do something, right? And like, no offense, like, but we'll show you how. Like, we have the staff, our wonderful staff,
dedicated every day to precinct committeemen.
We our volunteer recruitment and organizing army that we have are the best in the business. Bar none, no question. Austin works with our team every day. We have leaders.
Are definitely subject matter expert in whatever that's precinct committeeman.
We've started introducing someone through the show, and we'll have a lot more. We're going to have shows where it's like literally you're going to meet all these faces. You're going to go, oh my gosh, I'm uplifted because we have incredible people who are out in the field. Here in Arizona, Lacey and our entire team, Brett in Wisconsin, Luke in Michigan, Drianna in Florida. And overseeing all our teams that we have in Georgia with
Cooper and Orion.
Coop's been there for
Courtney,
now, decades. Decades.
Yeah.
He's starting growing hair on his chest even. So like we're like coming to a point.
He was just
here.
a baby when he started with us.
Everybody was. That's how this place works. It ages you quickly. You start looking like me. And then lastly is like this ballot chasing, right?
Yeah.
So
TPAction.com/chase.
A lot of people are asking questions about ballot chasing. How can I get involved? What can I do? Well, guys, the election's not till next year. So you can't help chase ballots until ballots are in the box, but we have an entire year where we're going to train people, build events, invite you, bring in people from out of state. We need people, and I tweeted this, and it actually ticked some people off this week. You want to know how I tweeted?
I remember what you tweeted. I know you did, but tell everybody else.
I
saw it.
It made some people mad. I tweeted and I said, hey, you look at your calendar now for next year, right? This is when you're looking at your full year. Plan on taking your time off next October.
Come to Arizona.
And come to Arizona, go to Wisconsin, go to Georgia. But if you can take time off, plan on taking time off next year. Quit your job if you have to. This is where people get upset. But I'm being very serious. We have jobs that we're going to have open. We're going to be paying people. But take your sabbatical.
Yeah.
September and October of next year. October, right? When early ballots are going to be out. We will give you houses to go to go chase ballots. If we get 20,000 people in the state of Arizona to chase ballots, there is almost zero chance we will lose. I promise you. We are going to be much more effective than the left. This is why they're after us, right? This is why they're angry. This is why they're saying don't show up to rallies. This is why they're going to be trying. This is why they're doing this stuff against Trump and against electors and all sorts of crazy stuff, right? Because we're talking about organizing tens of thousands of bodies to go chase ballots effectively. That's what we're going to do.
Yep. TPAction.com/chase. And then one more thing always, TPAction.com/scorecard. We're ending out the congressional calendar year. They're going to vote on some more bills, continuing resolutions. See where your members of Congress are with Turning Point Action, America First Family Values, TPAction.com/scorecard for the 118th Congress that is going to go into its second regular session next January. We'll have a lot more there. Figure out if your members of Congress are patriots or tyrants. Thank you, guys. Episode 13. We'll see you next week.